All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome in Wallester here. My name is Andrei. I'm VP of Engineering in Wallester, 4 weeks already, so I'm quite new here. And today we have quite interesting topic. But let me start from the simple truth. Wherever you want to check that your code really works, deploy it to production and make yourself on call. And nothing tests your confidence than a pager that is calling you at 3 a.m., right? Who was in this situation? Raise your hands. 2, 3 people. Yeah, 5. Okay, nice. So definitely you should, feel this pain that happens during this time, especially this moment when it calls you. First 3 seconds, you're trying to realize what's going on, who I am, where I am, right? And why CPU is 95%. That is meaningless, right? So this presentation is not about like textbook incident management. Here I want to talk how to make your incident management really drive your engineering on the code that they are deploying to production. I would name it in this way. It will be a bit spicy, you will see it, so let's start. And I want to start with this kind of image. So yeah, no production, no problem, right? But seriously, who has production? In fact, almost everyone. No. Even no half of the team. All others are on startup, just on development environments, right? Okay, good. So, look, production, it's like cooking, I would say. If you make it with no attention, you can burn your kitchen and you can burn your house too. And but if you make it with love, it definitely will feel some smoke, but it's good smoke. So in this image, you definitely see situation when monitoring is crazy, alerts are meaningless, and it works on my laptop is a strategy usually. But let's start then. What else I think? Let me start with the simple thing. It's a bit harsh, but it's true, really. And it's not first of all, of course, engineers should feel the pain of the production. That's true, right? Everyone understands that. And by the way, this guy usually CEO of the company when your production is down, right? And trust me, you don't see this face too often, frankly. But let's figure out what really bring you full ownership to the company. First of all, when your team start realizing that they are on call and they might get calls at 3 a.m., they will first start thinking differently. It's not only, it's mostly understanding that they have to make better code, right? They have to think monitoring before they release something to production. And they start thinking about the edge cases, of course, and and try to avoid shortcut, because nobody would like to debug things at night at 3 a.m., right? Where else you can get? Of course, I'm not talking about some experimental management theory. I'm talking about the fundamental principles that biggest companies in the world already implemented, like Google, Netflix, Microsoft, and so on. And this principle called you build it, you run it. I think everyone here heard about that. And what do you get from that? If you're an engineer, it's not like, you know, let's ship it today and let ops figure out at night. Now engineers start thinking, okay, what's gonna happen at night if this piece of code explodes, right? And I'm on call. So you see how brain changed, right? The logic. And full ownership means not only faster communication, but it's less handovers, less friction, and of course all communication usually became more technical. Instead of saying, okay, who broke this stuff, we start thinking, okay, how we can do it in a way that it will not break again. So yeah, so I hope I convinced you that full ownership is required for any company, and of course let me welcome you to on-call hell. Why it's hell? Because if it's not done right, it will be a hell, of course. And it's not when the PagerDuty is calling you at 3 a.m. This is not hell, but it's hell when it's calling you at 3 a.m. You have no clue what's going on, right? In fact. So now let's figure out what you need for the good on-call, right? And I will not stop on, you know, basics that you can read in books. Let me share my experience mostly, and of course accept clear documentation, proper tooling, and proper alerting that you have to build, of course. Maybe one of the important thing is you cannot just take basic incident management and just implement in the company. It's not like reinvent the wheels. Here you need to customize your wheels, I would say. That means why you need that? Because different companies have different architecture, different product, and of course different business risk tolerance. So you need to think about that, of course. So before implementing any incident manager, consider those things. And next question I would ask, where to start? And of course, first, answer will be start with automation. Why? Because people forget things, especially when you have long incident management rules. I mean, you have to create tickets, update status page, you need to do 10 different things. Of course, humans forget all of that. So if you want to succeed in incident management, focus on automation first of all. You need definitely simple way to create incidents. If it's hard to create, then it will fail, definitely. If disaster recovery is not automated, it will be slow, and all other things too. So what you can do now, that's an example that one of the bots that we built in my previous companies, and of course in Wallester we will do the same. Basically what he did, this bot, it's create incidents just from the Slack, updated status page, created a separate channel, starting Hangouts, and last two things, of course, we would love to do, but of course you see the different things that you can build in addition to what I built in my previous company. And of course, in the Wallester, we will do all of that. So start with the automation and build systems around that. What else? Of course, onboarding engineers to the on-call. One of the important topics. I want to stick here to tips. Maybe that's the most important. What I observed driving the incident management in my previous companies, text, people don't like to read text. And of course, in our area, when we doom scrolling all the time, short videos works much better. Yeah, and even you can record small videos, especially for the tasks that you didn't automate it yet. You're in progress. You cannot do everything in one day, right? So try to make short videos, and usually people can rewatch it, and usually it works much better. Another important thing here is trainings, game days. Try to do it once per quarter. Why? Because you decrease stress that engineers can have, especially during the outages. I think you saw this guy with Ox that is like staying on you and waiting. So yeah, game days are important too. And the last thing that I want to highlight, I think one of the crucial things, engineers' time should be paid. Especially if you're gonna interrupt their sleep, that is true, right? And if you understand that they will be responsible for the production system, it matters. And of course you need to pay for that, otherwise it's not gonna work. Where else? Let's jump to some observability things that in this case dashboards that I found very informative and very helpful for the successful incident management or easy incident management. First of all, doesn't matter what kind of pager you are doing, Obsgenie, PagerDuty, anything else. Try to build some dashboard that will show you teams, who is on call right now and who is in the schedule. Here on the screen you see one of the examples. So why do you need that? First of all, people sometimes change their phone numbers, or they just disable their phones. Try to build integration that can check the status. And for example, Obsgenie is possible. So if an engineer just disable voice calls, you will see, you can, using the Obsgenie API, you can catch this information, you can, alert on that. So your goal here, make sure that engineer, as on-call engineer, has everything with him, especially you can reach out him somehow. Another important tooling, I would say, alerts dashboard. Why it's important? Because usually you have different source of alerts. For example, you can Sentry, you can have Kubernetes, Prometheus, maybe other system, ELK stack, and so on. Different alerts that are coming from different places. Yes, they are calling to you through the pager, but you need a place where you accumulate everything and see, even compare different environments. Maybe you missed something, maybe you need to remove something, and so on. So try to accumulate everything in one dashboard so you can review it with the team and see, like, for example, here you see at least four different sources. Free. Yeah, this is Sentry here, Prometheus, Kubernetes. Like that. And you see on the last columns how many alerts and incidents you have. And for you it's easy to navigate in this case. Okay. One of the, maybe I better start with this one, but this may be one of the most important. Inventory of your service, especially if you are using multi-service, microservice architecture, right? Usually you have many microservices and services, and you definitely need to know who wants what service. And of course you need to know who is the team lead, who is on call right now. You can see it on another dashboard, but on the image here at least you understand who should be added to the incident if you see some errors that are coming from some service that you found in the logs, for example. And last one, maybe one of the most important, is your customers. That standard you see on the screen standard Atlassian status page. That's maybe one of the most important popular solutions right now. But the main idea here is your customers should know, is your system up and running, if there are any issues there. Why? Otherwise, you will get tons of negative feedbacks on social media and technical support. So yeah, transparency is the key here. Alerting, maybe one of the most tough things in incident management. I think here you need to understand that if somebody, if pager calling you at night, this alert should be actionable, because you need to respect engineers' time, especially at night. So not interesting, not informative, but actionable. And there is a big difference between actionable and non-actionable, right? If CPU 80%, that's informative, that's interesting. Pod restarted, that's interesting too. But you need to focus on symptoms. What kind of symptoms it can be? For example, API rate limit, if your user cannot log into the system, if your user cannot make a payment, for example. Things that affect your business. That's symptoms, and symptoms matters. So focus on symptoms and alert, try to alert only on symptoms. Of course, you can use multi-step logic here, so many different things, depends on your business and on your products. And maybe one of the most undervalued position in engineering department is incident management. Why? Because in many companies that I saw and I talked about the incident management too, mostly people just don't have such role, or they just left incident management to happen in itself. That it's always fail, frankly, and especially if you are CTO or VP of engineering, or like in the big companies, you first start to drive it yourself. Later, you can hire a person that will analyze all incidents, that will track that. For example, there are all that root cause analysis finished. You have short-term, long-term mitigation plans, and so on. And make sure that tickets, incidents are not, tasks are not silently dying somewhere in Slack, I would say in this way. So if you can not find such person, you should drive it yourself. Something like that. So few takeaways from me. I would say 3 main, right? I believe full ownership really is the best way to change culture in the company and make team high performance. The second thing, I would say automation. Automate the process. Why? Because humans forget things, and only automation can straightforward any process, including incident management too. Use the bots, build systems around that, and he will succeed. And last one, alerts on symptoms. So don't alert on things that are meaningless, like CPU 95%. Alert on symptoms that really matters, like your customers can do something. Alert on the business things. And thank you. Please don't forget that we are hiring. We have around 17 different open roles, including the engineering, and follow our Wallester and LinkedIn, my profile. Thank you. I'm ready to answer your questions.
Yeah, I will be in microphone today. But people are cooking with questions. the story I love about on-calls the most, because we do a lot of on-call as well, and one engineer said they love on-call because it's paid, and if something happens at night, it's paid even more, and that's
Absolutely,
awesome.
that should be.
So you see, perspective matters, and we start from here.
And I have pretty related question. First of all, thank you very much for the presentation. See, I have experience where it was a quite opposite practice. So it was not related to on-call actually, but overall about night shifts. And initially it was very well paid, and when we need to deploy everything, like, oh, it's too risky, we have to deploy it at night time, yeah? But now management said, like, let's cancel the payments. And funny thing, like in 2 weeks, it was even not too risky to deploy it during the daytime because it's like too stable, a lot of tools and things prepared, so yeah, that's good. So the quality of product in 2 weeks dramatically raised because of the cancellation. Where's the proof?
So you say that management cancelled payments for the on-call, and anyway the quality increased. I think it's increased because they paid them before. After some time, and definitely will go down, because if you not respect engineers' time, then sooner or later you will get muted production, I would say. So engineer will start mute production and will not care so much. Of course, after that, what management is trying to do, they trying to I would say like implement some sanctions to engineers, fire engineers, and so on. But the answer is simple. You just need to respect their time. Pay for the on-call. Something like that.
I will have one remark. According to Estonian law, on-call or being on-call must be paid. Right?
Yes.
There is no another
Yes,
option.
that's true. That's true.
Thanks for presentation. I have lots of questions, but let's start with how do you balance amount of people with budget limits? So if you have multiple teams, do you have one on-call per team, or like one on-call per department, per the company? Because the more on-call people you have at the same time, the more you have to pay. So
yeah. So how I am doing usually in the last companies where I worked, I tried to make all engineers in the team on call. That means usually if team is approximately, if there are up to 8 engineers in the team, usually you are on call. And of course I tried to make shifts 1 week, at least 1 week. Why? Because you kind of started the week, you finish the week, and it's convenient for you because you know that you should not have so much plans in the evening. You should not drink so much, yeah, and you have to take your laptop everywhere. So 1 week is convenient. And if you have 8 engineers, that means you will be on call once per 2 months, 1 week per 2 months, right? In fact. So I found it the best way. I advise you guys don't try to make on call 1 day because it's a mess. I tried before and it's a mess. Make it 1 week, it's convenient.
Thank you very much. I have a question about quality. So I'm interested in which metrics you use in order to understand that your on-call process is improving or becomes better in time. And as a follow-up question, which problems you are seeing will stay always despite of excellent architecture, strict performance envelopes, or amazing code? Thanks.
Yeah, so 2 questions. First question, how we can measure that incident management works and it's improving, right? I would suggest start from the DORA metrics, basic DORA metrics. That's not something hard to count. Like for example, time to recovery, one of 4 DORA metrics, right? And you can count and SLA too, and 2 main. And in general, Less incidents means engineers will deploy faster, they will make more releases, they will test better, and so on. So in general, DORA metrics will share you how you're improving or not, including an incident management. Answering second question was, can you repeat please the second question?
What was the purpose? Perfect code, more stable releases, more happy customers. What's the goal?
The goal. Yeah, the goal is next. Ownership gives you quality. Quality gives you speed, and speed gives you business impact. I would say in this way. So the purpose is, of course, building more, and of course make more features and make more money finally for the company.
Yeah, if I may, I'll add a couple of things on metrics. We also measure time to detect and time to mitigate. Also, because incidents are different severity, and they didn't cover it, but it's also quite important, right? So severity 3, meaning, like for us at least, it's business hours. Severity 2 is actual on-call, and so on and so forth. So we need to understand how to, again, respect people's time and what are you measuring.
Yeah, severity, taxonomy, that's basic things. If you read like one minimal article about incident management, you will understand those terms. Especially try to not focus on basics, so you can read yourself how to make it like in general, and focusing on experience that I have and you know, my experience in my last companies. Thank you.
Thank you for presentation. In the company I work, we also practice on-call shadowing. I find it really convenient for newcomers. So in practice, it's newcomer becomes on-call responsible, but there is one person that he or she can engage into the problem when problem occurs. I have two questions. So the main speech was about the ownership, but ownership also leads to some consequences for taking the ownership. If the consequence is I wake up during the night and that's all, it's not big of a deal. So do you think there should be more consequences for the engineers?
More consequences. Okay, let me answer first maybe part of questions. I'm frankly against getting new joiners to on-call immediately, because people first need to onboard, they need maybe to write some tests, they need to understand the system first. And then after probation period, usually I'm doing like that, after probation period, I let people start being on call, because if you make it from the start, you will get a lot of stress, because, well, it depends what kind of situation you have right now. If you have calls every night, that's huge stress. So it depends on the business, but I advise you to not do it like for newbies. Make it for the better seniors. The second thing, it all depends on the answer to the second question about the what consequences can be except you wake up at night. Well, I'm 43 years old. If you wake up at night one time, you cannot sleep last half of the night usually. So you care about your sleep. I think if you are young, like 20, 25, you can, you know, wake up, sleep again, and so on. No problems. But later, problem began. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your speech. I have such a question. I've been part of a team where we had on-call rotation, and I've seen many problems that we had. Our incidents were quite easy, and I would say that some months, like 30 to 50% of our salary was just overpaid for the incident management. So like some people will try to hack the system and try to make more money.
Yeah, absolutely.
My point.
That was your point. Okay, that's why
That's my point as well.
Okay, let me answer this question. Finally, I understood your question. So that's why one of the slides was you need incident manager, because in this case, incident manager on the incident committee highlight this problem. He first look at the all incidents. He see that they are the same, like 30% of the incidents are related for one particular case, and he can raise that. Well, if you are doing that, that's your decision, of course. You say, okay, we have to automate this part because our engineers abusing the system, right? You can talk about that honestly, why not? And so incident manager is the person who should detect such situation and work on that. That's why it's key role.
I have a question myself. Should engineer be on call? Oh, it's not engineer, engineering manager.
Engineering managers being on call, I would say in this way. In a lot of companies, usually it works in that way. If engineer is not answering on the phone for some of the reasons, next call is coming to the team lead. And if team lead is not answering, he's not involved in incident, critical incident, right? Next call is going to engineering manager. And after that, even engineering manager is answering, call is going to the CTO. And after that, CTO is wake up everyone.
And are you on call in this case? Or you're always on call as VP of engineering?
Yeah, I'm on call, and I think that makes perfect sense.
And this is it for today, because pizzas arrived, and we have person doing the tour. Let's clap for Andrei.
Thank you very much.